is a presentation of Financial Crisis Recovery.
Foreclosure, short sales, bankruptcy, credit card debt, job loss, depreciating home values, money management. Peace of mind when it comes to your finances seems completely out of reach under current conditions, but there is a way to achieve it. For the next 60 minutes, you're going to find out how to cover your assets. Cover your assets. Now, here's nationally renowned speaker and expert on getting you on the path to financial strength, Todd Rooker.
Good morning and welcome to Cover Your Assets. Listening to the intro here, not necessarily the views of the... Well, we are nonetheless happy to be here with KSTP 1500 and ESPN. So we're going to talk today on Cover Your Assets, all things related to financial situations. And as you know, if you've listened to the show in the past, my business is all about helping people who are dealing with challenges or people who never want to be in those challenges, which would mean asset protection for the things that they've built. And who better to help you with that than somebody who deals with the chaos when people are in that situation to help you ensure that you never are. As you hear on some of the commercials, it'll talk about what my business is. It is people who are, for the most part, have been solid and stable their whole lives, have never missed a payment in their lives, and now are finding it challenging because of multitudes of reasons, medical issues, business issues, business failures, divorce. Many things can happen in a person's life that can take something that seemingly could never go wrong into a situation where it is now going wrong. And now you're exhausting all of your money, your retirement accounts, just trying to make your payments on time, and don't know what to do and don't know how to strategize. And you go to see an attorney and you go to see a financial advisor and you go to see your CPA and you go to see a real estate agent and a mortgage broker and a credit specialist. And every time you walk away, you're more confused than when you started. My job is to know what all of those people know and to be able to create a cohesive strategy that addresses everything that relates to your particular situation, and then tell you who you need to go see and what you need to do and what the considerations should be, the pitfalls and the length of time it'll take to recover. It's a broad scope. It's a very interesting profession that I have been engaged in, but that is what my job is. So when people come to me, they often come with multitudes of issues, and they typically are focused on the ones that are right in front of them, giving the most pain and creating the most pressure at the moment, but they may have many other issues that are exacerbating that situation, and they don't fully appreciate that because they're so focused on the pressure as it is at that moment. So we're going to talk about things that get people into trouble, and we're going to talk about some federal debt today and how you deal with federal debt. Federal debt would be IRS and state revenue debt. It would be student loan debt, and it would be SBA loan debt. How to deal with it. I want to tell you quickly about my own personal situation and my own personal story. Some of you have heard this who've gone to my classes, and I recommend anybody who wants to get information as the likes of what I've described here, go to our website at www.cya21.com and check out Kaplan's website. Kaplan is the largest provider of self-improvement and continuing education classes, and you don't need to have a professional affiliation such as a financial advisor, a CPA, or a real estate agent to go to these classes. The public is welcome to pay for the classes and go. They're $50 for a half day, $100 for a full day approximately, and it is the best value you will ever get, especially as it relates to my classes, because when you come sit down with me, it's $250 an hour, and I stand in front of a group of people for 8 hours and give them everything I have to give for 8 solid hours, and they walk away going, my God, this is amazing stuff. Never heard any of this before, some of which you may have heard on the radio. So the Kaplan Schools is just a tremendous place here locally to get some of that information. I recommend highly, if you're interested in these topics, to go to those classes. They are truly top shelf. Beyond that, I'll tell you quickly about my story. When I got started in financial planning, probably 28 years ago now, I was a young man just getting started in life. I had a beautiful young wife, And very quickly after we had gotten married, we were expecting our first unplanned pregnancy. Some of you probably know a little bit about that. And we had our first child. Everything went well, but we were young and we were broke and we had no health insurance. So when I went to get health insurance, I got a supplemental plan that I thought would take care of everything. And little did I know that had a $500,000 cap. But it was cheap, and I was young and I was broke, and so that's what we did. Just a few months after we had our first child, Alexander, my wife was pregnant with our second unplanned pregnancy, and this time it didn't go the same way. This time my wife went into labor in the 22nd week. She delivered our little boy. He was the lowest birth weight male baby in the nation. He was born at 11 ounces, and immediately after delivering my son, my wife was found to have stage 3, which later metastasized and became stage 4 cancer. So back-to-back simultaneously, she was delivering a baby with major cancer. And my little boy was born at 11 ounces. The third day, his lung collapsed. He went into cardiac arrest. And as a result, 70% of his brain tissue was destroyed through lack of oxygen. And my wife, just a few days after delivering him, had back-to-back surgeries to deliver our little boy, and then also had a radical hysterectomy, and just several days later started radiation and chemotherapy. So if you can imagine this beautiful young wife that I had married, who is now going through what she was going through, breaking open sutures from the surgeries just days before because of the chemotherapy that was causing her body to react that way. It was just a horrible situation. And without getting too detailed into this, we had a health insurance cap. About the middle of the summer, they called my wife and I in. My wife was at that point 67 pounds from the radiation and chemo, not expected to live beyond the end of the month. And they told us that she needed to get her affairs in order because they didn't believe she'd live beyond the end of the month. The next morning, they wheeled her down with her IV and all of her machines into a prenatal care unit where my son was in ICU, and told us that our little boy would also not survive. And even if he did survive, he'd never be a functioning human being. And we thought that you should seriously consider, Mr. and Mrs. Rooker, I and my wife, that you should take him off the respirator, meaning effectively he would die for the better of the family, because he would never be a functioning human being. And my wife and I, of course, are young kids. She was 23 and I was 27. And she looked at me, and we both had tears running down our faces. And she says, "Todd, I think we should do this because I don't know how you'll take care of 2 kids with me gone." And I stood up in front of all the doctors and all the oncologists and the prenatal care unit and the administrators who were all in that room, maybe 30 people. And I said, "Not going to happen." I said, "This kid will prove you wrong, and he'll do all the things you say he can't." And quietly they said to me, "Mr. Rooker, how do you plan to pay for all of this?" And I said, "I don't understand what you're talking about." And they said, "Well, apparently you're not aware. You have a $500,000 cap on your health insurance, and you currently have $620,000 in medical bills that are escalating at a rate of nearly $20,000 per day. You're $120,000 over your cap on your health insurance. How do you plan to pay for this?" Well, I was 27 years old. I was working for a financial institution on a internship. I was delivering pizzas and installing windshields, and I had no idea. Long story short, I spent the next 7 years of my life paying back what became more than $500,000 above and beyond my $500,000 cap. So I understand the concept of do the right thing and pay the bills on time. But my business today that I'm in, I should tell you, my son has cerebral palsy, but you have a hard time knowing that. He now has graduated from high school. He's 24 years old, and he works at Byerly's in Maple Grove. He has taken my philosophy to heart. That is the money management. He is at 24 with all the challenges that he has. He has his Infinity FX45 paid for free and clear, and has $30,000 in his savings account. So pretty amazing story. So we've been through the how do you deal with crisis, financial crisis, and I really appreciate that. I want to end that story by telling you that I have recently been diagnosed with stage 3 throat cancer. I've never smoked or drank, never smoked in my life. I drink moderately, very moderately, and yet I have this. And so I am currently dealing with radiation and chemotherapy that I'm going through right now. So if I'm intermittently out of my show, I apologize for that, but I wanted to give you the reason. So now it's my turn at the plate to go at it. My wife has gone through it, and now I'm going to go through it. So want to let you know that. So if I'm a little aloof sometimes, that's part of the therapy that I'm going through that is less than enjoyable. Let's just put it that way. So now let's get into our topic here. A lot of people are dealing with debt. And as you heard me say many times, when you have debt, you really have three straightforward options. One, pay all the money. And if you do decide that you're capable financially of paying all the money, then you have to have a strategy to try to accelerate the debt and get rid of it once and for all, because I believe that there is tremendous value in closure. But there are pitfalls and issues related to all of these debt obligations, and some of them may make it impossible for you to pay all the money, and sometimes maybe that's not the case. So if you can pay all the money, then you have to manage your other expenses so that you can accelerate that debt and at some point be able to show meaningful chunking down of that money. I've always believed that a human being has to be able to see, for any sacrifice they make, they have to be able to see a reasonable change, and they have to see progress, meaningful progress that is able to be measured on an ongoing basis. Otherwise, they don't stay with the program for very long. So human beings need to see meaningful progress and ongoingly. And so you've got to structure your other obligations and avoid other debt so that you can actually focus on paying down this debt. Why is this important? Because some of this debt, even if you were to go to bankruptcy, is non-dischargeable. There's no way to get away from some of this debt. And so you do have to be aware of that. We're going to talk about that today. So when a person comes to me and they say, hey, look, I've got to walk away from my house, I can't afford it any longer, the question is it just because of the house, or is it because you have student loan debt? Is it because you have IRS debt? Is it because you have credit card debt? Is it because of many other things? So, and they don't look at that. They look at, oh, I can't afford to make my house payment. But there's much, much more to it than that. And as you've heard me say before, a lot of times people say, I have to lose my house, I have to short sale my house, I'm going to get foreclosed on. And I say, okay, but your house payment is $2,000 per month. If you go and rent, how much would that be? Well, that'd be about $1,500 per month. That'd really help me. Yes, but you got last year a $4,000 tax refund. Had you not had the house's interest to write off from that mortgage, you'd have, instead of gotten $4,000 back, you'd have been paying $2,000 in. That's a $6,000 difference. If you divide that by 12, you're talking about $500 per month. You take the $500 per month against your current mortgage payment of $2,000 with the tax incentive that you get at the end of the year, and you take that $500 a month, you're right back to $1,500 a month, and renting isn't going to fix anything. Wow. And by the way, when you do walk away from the house and rent, you won't have the protection afforded you under foreclosure law that enables you to stay in a house for an entire year to gather yourself up financially and prepare for the next move. Likewise, when you walk away, you'll also have $70,000 or $80,000 in credit card debt that you still have. And if you have a second mortgage, you'll also have that to contend with. Are you sure that walking away from your home is the answer to your problem?